Hello, beloved. It's me, Robin Hallett, intuitive healer and light sparkler at robinhallett.com. And this is Tea with Robin. On this episode, in the spirit of our emotional well-being, it becomes so important to learn to forgive our parents, to forgive ourselves. I'm sharing a collective hug with you about being the child of a parent where things did not go well, and also being the parent of children where things did not go well. All the stuff that comes up, all the things we learn on dealing with our baggage and choosing love and forgiveness as the spirit walk we are doing. Our inspiration, receiving the mothering we may still feel we are missing. And we'll have a letter from a mama who is wondering, how do you let yourself off the hook for mistakes you made in the past? How do you live in the now without regrets? Well, we're going to talk about all of that and a lot more. So I suggest you grab a cup of yum yum and meet me here. Well, hello, gorgeous friend. It's me, Robin. Welcome back to the podcast, Tea with Robin. This is episode 135. 135. If it's your first time here, hello. This is a healing podcast about living our beautiful lives, showing up, choosing to be here. You know, choosing to be here, choosing to live a life we feel proud to claim. Not always that easy, not always so smooth, but here we are and we're riding together. We're doing this journey together and I am so glad for that. So thank you for being here, and thanks to however you came to be here as well. Friends returning, hello. I hope that your week has been going well. I'm wondering how the weather in your heart is today. How are you doing? How have you been doing since we last spoke? I hope that you are finding your way to enjoying this time, enjoying spring, keeping your heart warm, fuzzy, cozy, doing your best, hanging in there with yourself. Yeah, I really, really do. Over here, it's a beautiful day, and the weather in my heart is good. I am enjoying so much the garden these days. Things are starting to wake up a little bit, and I'm out every day looking at what's new now. And oh my goodness, we have the sweetest little robin's nest being built right outside the window. There's nothing that says spring quite like the little birdies in their nests. And it's probably not that uncommon to have a bird's nest on your property, but I have been doing a lot of work repairing things around here, and we have this really cool super old shed. I think the previous owners probably built it themselves. It's definitely not a kit or anything, and boy, gotta be 40 years old, so there's little repairs here and there, but I've also decorated it in my Robbie-Sobby way, and it is so cute because at the tippy top of these I call it the shed antlers. I painted these sticks of wood. They kind of look like antlers on the top of the shed. She has built, or is building, she's still building it, her nest there. The mom and the female and the male robin are working away. Today they're packing in the mud, and it's amazing. Right from my window right now, I can see it. And I've named the mother bird. I've named the female Shirley and the husband, the male. They don't have to be married, guys. It's okay. And her partner is Bob. Because, Bob, he looks like a Bob. It's very fun to watch. But it's so cool that we were just at number one kiddo's house. She just moved into her first home, and we've been helping her little bits here and there. But she also has a robin's nest outside her window. And I said, I would love to have a robin's nest this year. And it's like, you know how it goes. You come home and then a bird starts building one. So it's been really sweet and enriching, to have something to look forward to every day when you get up and go out. And it's also in a weird way, a reminder of this time, because I don't know about you, but the vibes are bizarre to me these days. There is a lot of different things going on. As I often say, I don't want to get into all the news here, but it just seems like right now there's an energy about the virus, about whether or not we're pushing the river too much in terms of going back to air quotes here, normal or not, or are we being too chicken about re-emerging into public spaces together? Just all these different, just really differing viewpoints. People worried about getting vaccinated, people not worried about getting vaccinated, stories circulating about vaccinations. Is that a psychic ding or what? All the different kinds of stories circulating about things. And, sometimes it just can feel heavy in the heart space as we continue in our way on this journey with everything we're walking through, So having a birdie's nest, yeah, it's a really sweet thing, and it's a small thing. And sometimes, you really got to let those small things be big things for your heart, don't you? It's okay to be lit up about a bird's nest. It's okay to be lit up about a book you're loving these days. It's okay to be lit up about your plants or your pet. Whatever gets you there, I say go for it. So, yeah, it's such a good thing. So why don't we cheers? Did you bring something yummy to sip on today? I hope you did. I have my bubbly. I have a little bit of bubble water here and a nice cup of tea. My Earl Grey, my favorite Earl Grey tea with a little sea salt and stevia. And I say we cheers to small things that are so meaningful and special to us, making it sweet, making it beautiful. Cheers to that. Cheers. So good, so good, so good. So today, friends, I mentioned last week that I'd like to continue on our discussion of parents and our parents and us being parents and our children and generational stuff that happens in our upbringing, the stories, different things. We've just had Mother's Day. If you're listening real time, this would be yesterday in the United States. I know some countries celebrated earlier than that, but here in the States, it was yesterday. And oh my goodness, I don't know a ton of people who don't have some sort of kind of baggage around these kinds of things. I don't know anybody who doesn't have something. And so I just wanted to share a collective hug and some love, and also to say it's a big deal. If you have feelings about your experience of being a parent or being the child of a parent, you know what I mean? Like where stuff was going down or whatever it is for you, it's so important to let yourself feel your feelings, have your experience. I'm not somebody who's here to constantly cheerlead us out of our experiences. things can be very difficult sometimes. I know life can feel very challenging to live in because things are heavy, things are challenging. We have stuff that goes down, and it just can be a bit of a slog to keep showing up day in and day out. And the thing for me is letting yourself have your feelings, letting yourself explore how you're feeling, allowing it to be exactly as it is for you. That is where it's at. You know, it's so important. I hear this a lot from people in healing sessions that if they give themselves some space to feel their feelings, they're afraid they're going to get stuck there. They're afraid it's never going to turn off. And, you know, that's actually more of just a fearful story than the reality. I really want us to have the courage to explore how it feels to be ourselves, to have our feelings, and to not treat ourselves like we're some kind of inconvenience to our own hearts if we're having some tender feelings. And, you know, also to care a little less about what everybody else is going to think, you know? For us not to be so concerned with what somebody else will say if we have feelings. The only one who really matters here is you, is me, is our hearts, is our experience. You know what I'm saying? So how we feel matters. Yeah, how we feel matters. All of how we're feeling is all right. So many of us go through experiences, ongoing experiences with our families, with our parents, with our kids, whatever it is. If we're not able to pause and allow ourselves to feel it, to take some time to presence our experience for our own hearts, whatever it is that's going on. This could be anything for you today. You may not necessarily relate to talking about parents and stuff like that, but whatever it is that you're feeling, you know, whatever it is that's going on, if we don't make some space to take some time to be with our feelings, what ends up happening is the tarnish kind of comes off your day, your life, you know, your day, your week, your months. Things feel very dull and a slog. You know, it can be like a bit of a slog. And I don't know about you, but life is hard enough as it is. And we are here. You know, people say to me all the time, what is the point of even being here? Sometimes we wonder things like that. But we are here. And I don't know about you, but I want my life to not feel like every single day I'm limping through it. So this is my encouragement to give yourself some space to feel what you're feeling. So today I kind of want to talk about not where it's perfect, but where we're struggling. And, you know, along the theme of family and stuff, I've been thinking a lot about how it happens that two people come together and decide to share their lives together. You know, you could be thinking about your parents right now. You could be thinking about yourself right now. Whatever example comes to mind. Two people come together to spend their life together. They're in love. They meet. They have a connection. They want to be together. That's the optimal scenario. But also, there's lots of reasons people come together. You know, it's not always a choice made out of love and romance. But however two people come together, they come together with their own personal baggage, their own stuff. And a lot of times you're getting into something because you're trying to get away from something else, right? So I think about that a lot, how my parents met. They really barely had any time to get to know each other before they decided to get married. And my mom left her home country to be with my dad, and they had barely spent any time together. So, after the marriage is when you start to discover who you really are to each other. And by that point, back then anyway, it's a little late to change your mind. We don't always consider all of the stuff, how complicated it is. I think sometimes we can be surprised by the amount of emotional layers we find in each other. I find as a kid who struggled a lot with her parents, or struggled with the story, or really felt like I missed out on the traditional parent-child relationship. I really did. And I know a lot of you did as well, and you still feel that way. In fact, I saw a great Post Secret, if you follow the account Post Secret the other day, it said something like, every year I look for the Hallmark card that says, Happy Mother's Day, but something like you were never the kind of person I would call, you were not the parent I could even call parent, but happy mother. I saw so many posts about Mother's Day and about parents, and kind of like, where's the Hallmark card that says, you're my parent and I'm your child, happy Mother's Day, nothing else, There's a lot of us out there that just feel completely estranged from the sensation of, that's my mom, or that's my dad, or that's my parent, or that's my, safe person, that's my protector, that's my, we never knew what that was like. And there are some times in the year where that energy really gets going, and I know for a lot of us, this is it. So I hope that we can be so tender-hearted with ourselves, but also because, in the spirit of our own emotional growth and forgiveness, which is choosing to give up our upset for the sake of our own hearts and our own movement and our own joy, and also let people out of prison, emotionally speaking, energetically speaking, let people out of prison. How many decades do we need to hold our parents hostage for the way they failed us? And I say that, I feel like I have some cred. I can say that because I had those parents. You know what I mean? But carrying it that way is not healthy for me, and I don't feel it's healthy for my parents wherever they are now. They were all just people trying to get through their experience, and it doesn't excuse any of their behaviors. But how many decades do we need to go around being sort of hindered by what happened to us? I don't want to let that define my experience. I don't want to let that ruin the quality of my life and my health. And so back to what I was saying a little bit ago, I do think about the stories about how my parents barely knew each other and the baggage that they came through, their experiences. How that shaped them. Again, none of this excuses anything, But you might want to be thinking about that, because some of us were really stuck on how we're, the one parent who is the narcissist or the alcoholic or the abuser or the abandoner or the selfish child. You think you're supposed to have a parent, but they end up being the small one, You're the big one and they're the small one. Whatever it is, I wonder what the next steps are for you. How are you going to advance this narrative? Because I want us to live a life where we feel emotionally free, where we are released from certain behaviors that we do, like controlling behaviors, because we never learned how to trust the people, the big people. As little kids, we couldn't trust the big people. So we grew up learning how to control things to keep ourselves safe. Or, the anxiety we still carry, or the depression, the sadness, the anger, the adults still looking for a parent. Do you ever meet people like that? I mean, there was a long time where I was really grieving the loss of my mother, and not just, this was after my mom died, and I don't mean that she died. I mean that I finally realized, like, I missed out on a whole energy of mothering. And, like, really, I did. And what was I going to do about that? How was I going to get that part of me that was still wanting that and knowing it's over? I mean, there are no more chances, when your mom dies, that's it, you think. But, I have since learned that all of life is a mother, and friends can be a mother. When you lose a parent, it can be so challenging, but also all of life can be a mother, and you can mother each other. If you're in a relationship that's good, you can allow yourself to be mothered. You can ask for your needs to be met and trust that people will show up with the love and kindness to bring that to you. It's definitely an act of courage to recognize where you missed out, where you didn't feel that you were taken care of, and you still want to experience that. And, it's really tough when you go on to have your own kids and you still don't feel like you have a parent for you. I know that place too. And that's why our friends are so important. Our circles are so important. And it's, it's never too late for us to find that in each other. It's never too late. No matter how old you think you are or how late the time has gotten, there is still time for you to open your hands and let yourself be held, as Rumi would say, and also to decide to be somebody who holds other people. And this is for everybody, for the guys who love to listen to this podcast. You guys can be there for each other as well. And it is possible. It's just naming it for yourself, letting yourself know that this is something you want. Tenderness, tender-hearted friends, friends who are genuine and supportive, loving for you. Yeah. And often it means deciding to go first. I know for me, this Mother's Day, I had received some beautiful notes and messages and gifts in the mail from friends I help, friends on the journey, and it really is touching to me when somebody says, "You are so much more like the mother I always wanted than the mother I actually had." I really understand that. And I also took some time to say, Robin, I'm so glad you said yes in your heart to showing up and mothering other people as best you can, to show up and be a friend to others. Learn to be a friend to your own heart, of course, but also to decide, yeah, I'm going to step in. And when people say to me, you're like a mom I wish I had had, or you're like a spirit mom to me, spirit mama, I'm so honored, and it feels special. And sometimes that's the best thing going, because in your own family, you might not have so much of that. I know as a stepmom, it's a different experience for me on Mother's Day, So I love showing up and being there for each other. And I hope that that's something you're thinking about as well. Not that it's your job, but we can give and receive this kind of love, even with a little furry pet, a little 4-legged baby. It's totally possible. Something not just remember, I said, I want to talk a little bit for people who struggle with this kind of stuff. So I feel a little bit tender about saying this, but one of the things that brought me to studying the Course in Miracles was my own suffering about family stuff, about not really finding my place in things. And like I said, two people come together and they get married and they're in love. In our case, we're in love. In my parents' case, they were in love. And we're not thinking about baggage. We're not thinking about unpacking things. And so you stumble your way into stuff that you don't know how to deal with. And maybe you didn't have role models. I certainly, even if I had parents I could talk to, they weren't alive by the time I was married and parenting, with number one. So you're out there on your own flying solo, and that's pretty much what brought me to the Course in Miracles, just finding a way to not suffer so much at the daily upsets, emotional upset about my own upbringing, but also the memories that come through being a parent yourself, or your own inadequacies where you realize you just didn't learn how to be a good parent from your own parents. I hope that makes sense to some of you. So one of the things that really strengthened me right out of the Course in Miracles kind of is like all the guidance you could ever seek for is right there inside your own heart. If you can be still and ask the question of the enlightened one who lives in your own heart, help me find the way through this day. Help me, tell me what to do, tell me what to say, tell me how just help me feel better. Whatever it is, you can certainly quiet yourself and say that prayer. One thing that I really learned in my studies is I'm the one creating the experience I'm having. So if I was feeling lonely or excluded or unloved, like I didn't have a mom to go to and hug, and this makes me cry just, thinking about it. But there is still, for those of you who get that, there's still a place in your heart that you can be still and you can receive. You can connect with that energy. And it's quite possible that the Earth Mother, or the mother your mother always intended to be, the energy of that, you can connect with her still, or your father, or, I talk to a lot of people in a week, and the experience of loneliness and feeling alone, it's a pretty universal thing. The way we would tell the story is very different, probably, but it's something I hear a lot. So don't forget that you can connect inside your own heart. And also to give that energy out is very healing. To be outside and to be friendly, to smile at people and receive that smile back instead of looking like you're busy and on your phone because you don't know how to interact with people. Reach out, make that move. But the big thing is we're creating our experience by narrating it, by constantly saying, I'm lonely, or I'm unlovable, or people didn't love me the way I wanted to be loved, or I wasn't acknowledged. A lot of moms, I know, just saying because it's Mother's Day, and dads too. I mean, we'll talk about this closer to Father's Day, but a lot of the guys I know, they also don't feel acknowledged. They don't feel like they're getting the acknowledgement and the thank yous and the accolades, So this, like I say, universal experience is here. But a lot of the perspective is what we're creating for ourselves. And that means we can uncreate it as well. We can decide differently. We can choose a new experience. We can choose a new narrative. And it does take your courage. It takes your courage to decide to mother yourself, to parent yourself, to move through your own resistance to your feelings or to acknowledging your feelings. Oh my gosh, so much courage to forgive our parents for not knowing, for their own shortcomings, to have some compassion, to think about the year it was when your parents were born and the year it was when their parents were born. I mean, I think about things like my mom being 3 years old at the beginning of World War II in Germany with the bombings, or your parents and where they were going through World War II, or, you know what I'm saying? You can think about things. It wasn't that long ago, that many generations ago, that kids were looked at as farmhands to work the land. It's not that long ago. And my point is that perhaps we can have a little bit more compassion and understanding for why they weren't expert lovers, expert parents, why they weren't experts at offering kindness and compassion that we needed. And to let ourselves, could we also let ourselves off the hook? I think it's incredibly challenging to raise yourself. If your parents left early, when you were young, your parents weren't there, or your parents weren't there, but they were there, you had child parents that were childlike and selfish, narcissistic, and couldn't be the parent you needed them to be. I know people who grew up in orphanages even though their parents were here because they couldn't handle it. The parents sent their kids away. That was a common thing. My stepdad lived in an orphanage Monday through Friday. I know Wayne Dyer did as well. I mean, a lot of people talk about this experience. Sometimes it's a powerful thing to open our hearts a bit more and just consider what it must have been like for everyone. And could we have a little more love and compassion? And forget, that includes us too. Forgive ourselves. If you feel that sense like you didn't do it right and you could have done it better, obviously, that it's your fault. If your kid turned out a certain way, we just blame ourselves so quick. But maybe we could open our hearts a bit more and you got to ask yourself what your next steps are around this healing journey. What is your next step? Because we just don't want to stay here for another 10 years, you know? And I'm always here to help if I can. If you feel called, look into some time with me one-to-one. I'd be honored to help you unpack some of this. And information about that is below the podcast here that you're listening to. And I guess one more thing is just know you are never alone. You're not the only one who has this. You're not the only one who feels this way. And sometimes it's such a powerful thing to let yourself connect to the other people out there. This is another thing I always loved about the Course in Miracles. In the teacher's manual, it talks about this kind of stuff, that we're out there and we're connected. And yes, we may not meet each other in real life, but there could be some strength in knowing you're not the only one going through this. And also that we're being looked out for, looked after, by the creative essence of this whole universe. And yeah, sometimes it's a stretch to choose to let that be a soother, a comforter, but it's still there. It doesn't change the fact that the love, the universal love, is there for you. Yeah. So may that serve you today, beautiful. Cheers. I thought today for inspiration that I would read to you a song, because you do not want me to sing to you. Yeah, you don't want me to sing it to you. But one of my favorite songs is the Sinead O'Connor song, This Is to Mother You. Do you know that song? I will link it up in the show notes here. If you go to robinhalleck.com/135. Back in the day when I was running retreats or healing a nighttime, like I would have an event called Sacred You, I would sometimes play this song, and it's such a beautiful lyric. The words are so beautiful. And personal experience speaking here, sometimes when you need to release, you need to grieve, you need to move some energy out, a song is a very productive way to do that. So I have found that to be super effective. Yes. So let me read it to you. Not sing it. Here we go. You ready? This is to mother you, to comfort you and get you through when your nights are lonely, through when your dreams are only blue. This is to mother you. This is to be with you, to hold you and to kiss you too. For when you need me, I will do what your own mother didn't do, which is to mother you. All the pain that you have known, all the violence in your soul, all the wrong things you have done, I will take from you when I come. All mistakes made in distress, all your unhappiness, I will take away with my kiss. Yes, I will give you tenderness. For child, I am so glad I found you. Although my arms have always been around you. Sweet bird, although you did not see me, I saw you, and I'm here to mother you, to comfort you, and get you through when your nights are lonely, through when your dreams are only blue. This is to mother you. Beautiful. Maybe that's the universal mother singing to you. I hope you will play the song. There's a lot of different versions, some duets, but Sinead O'Connor is the writer and singer of the one, is the writer and the singer of the one I love. You know, I hope that you are willing to give yourself some of the tenderness you need and spend time. It's never silly. And often I notice people are quite impatient with their experience. And I really think it's a fear-based thing that makes us so impatient with our own feelings. Take the time. You matter. If you're feeling like you're missing out, if you're sad, if you're feeling like there's a part of you that isn't complete, you can mother yourself. You can give yourself what you're needing. Like I say, you can ask for help. Yeah, so important. Cheers. I really hope you'll listen to the song. Here we go. This is the part I like to ask you to share this podcast on. Share this with a friend you thought of. Bring it up in a conversation where somebody's asking for support or help or acknowledging just sometimes how fragile life is. Suggest this podcast. You can always share it on social media or mention it somewhere. And I always appreciate your acknowledgement of what you're learning here when you share. Thank you so much for that. I've been getting some messages from you this week saying, I wanted you to know. I turned another friend on to the podcast and she's loving it too. And I heard from several of you around the world, South Africa, Cork. I didn't say it right, did I? In Ireland, Pennsylvania, California. Where else did I hear this? Arizona. So just to name a few. And I've loved your messages this week. I said, last week, I'd love to hear your experiences about the podcast. And I loved hearing from you. And I thought I would read some of these, but they're all so like, I love you, Robin. And I don't want to sound like I'm self-aggrandizing. So, it's so touching to know that you are receiving and you're feeling met, by what's being shared here. And on a personal note, speaking personally, I think if you've been listening here for a minute or two, I think already what a big deal it is for me to do this podcast. And every week, pretty much without fail, unless I'm on vacation or, taking a little bit of a break. It's a big deal to show up and speak like this for an hour, often sharing vulnerable experiences, sharing my healing journey with you, revealing things about myself that sometimes later, you may not know this, but people say, frankly, some really stupid things to me publicly sometimes. And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I think I'm sure you've had this done to you as well. And if you're sensitive and tender like I am, which you probably are, it kind of makes you want to take your Barbies and go home and never come back again. And what your private messages to me do that I'm not going to read here today, but I sat and really received them this week. So I don't want you to know, I want you to know it was not in vain. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say here. I take that in personally as healing and encouragement to keep going. because there are times where I just feel like this is a great week to be telling you that, because it's hard to talk about stuff. I may sound awesome, but it's difficult to share things, and I do worry, and I don't always enjoy the certain kinds of feedback I get when I do. Just being really honest, and I, again, hope it doesn't hurt anybody's feelings, but yeah, got to be honest with you there. So I am thankful for your messages, and and I was really excited to hear from a number of you that you really are having your own aha about the stories you were raised with from last week, the stories, the traditions, the things you thought mattered, the things you thought you were supposed to be going for, that you're undoing some of that. You're allowing yourself to unwind some of that. Isn't that so powerful and wonderful? And there are several of you working on, and I hope it went wonderfully well, that this Mother's Day, you were not going to be setting yourself up for that nobody loves me vibe, nobody remembers me kind of story. I think that's a pretty big one a lot of us can be stuck in, Yeah. So I thank you for sharing. I thank you for sharing your experiences and helping people find this love who really are needing it too, And a friend of mine the other day, I wrote her and said, wow, this is the second time you've shared the podcast. This is a friend I've known for years. And in my experience, maybe she's never shared anything publicly. So 2 weeks in a row was kind of like, whoa. So I just wrote and said, thank you so much. And she said, well, I've always been worried people would think I was a weirdo because, the woo-woo on the podcast. And, but I realized I just want to share, get it out there, let people decide for themselves. And I think that's so amazing. But I mean, I'm telling you, this is not woo. This is just every day, my friend. This is the stuff we're all thinking about, but we don't acknowledge. We're worried. If you're somebody who worries about what other people think, you're just not talking about this openly. So I have heard that for years, that the reason people are afraid to share is they don't want other people to know that they're a weirdo. Well, this is hardly weird. That's what I have to say. In my world, what's weird in my world? How dysfunctional we can be because we don't know how to get real and be with our feelings and talk like what's really going on, acknowledge what's really happening. I think that's what's weird. That we sit through a whole evening together and pretend nothing's wrong, or we pretend that we're less interested than we are, that we don't express our love for each other, that you have friends that never tell you they love you because they don't want to seem weird. I think that's weird. So there. There's my counter weird to the weird. Okay? The weird. That's what's weird. Yes. And speaking of weird, I keep wanting to say, I got my first good weird hug from a girlfriend of mine. Hello, Lisa. I was telling you I went for my mammogram last week, and I got the weird exam, and I had said, boy, I haven't been touched like this in a whole year. We laughed so hard, the nurse and I, about that, because, when are you being touched like this except in a mammogram? But, it was just perfect with the pandemic. And one of the things I had said is it really put me in touch with how much I miss hugging my friends in real life, just hugging in general. And so right on cue, my girlfriend Lisa texted me and said, I'm going to be in your area. Can I stop by and say hello? And it was so good to hug in person. And it was really funny because She brought me 2 fig trees. In Chicago, they do have hardy trees you can grow in Zone 5. So I am now the proud mama of 2 baby fig trees. And I also had plants for her. I picked out some of my best looking seedlings of a sweet pea and a scarlet runner bean and a moonflower or a morning glory. I can't remember. Some of them I forgot to label, and the leaves, you think you're going to know, but the leaves, after a while, you can tell. So I guess she'll be surprised with me which color those flowers are. But it was so lovely, like to be face to face with a girlfriend and hug. And gosh, such a wonderful thing. So just wanted to say that. Hi. Hey, Lisa. So I guess we'll move on to this week's letter. I have a great letter. Several of you sent letters relating to this theme of parenting. So let me pull one up right here. And I'm just going to jibber jabber while I look this up, friends. Yeah. Do you like my jibber jabber? You can't. I cannot jibber jabber and look something up, apparently. Okay, here we go. This goes out to Mandy. Thank you so much for writing. And, friends, if I can read a letter for you, it's as easy as emailing me, hello@robinhallett.com, or you can direct message me on Facebook or Instagram and just let me know it's for the podcast. I love to read your letters here, and I know all of us, we enjoy hearing them. So this goes out to you, Mandy, and thanks again. Good morning, Robin. I'm in a weird spot in my life right now. I'm 55 years old with an 18-year-old and almost 17-year-old. I'm on the struggle bus most days with so much regret regarding the way I did things raising them and many other things. It's high time I let it all go and move on, but I'm having trouble stopping my thoughts from remembering and regretting. And even though I deeply believe in living in here and now, it's still a challenge. Do you have suggestions on how to stop my ruminating on old regrets? It would be much appreciated. With love, Mandy. Well, my friend, I really appreciate this so much. I think a lot of us have old regrets, and it took my throat out right there. Did you hear it? Old regrets. I do too. So my secret is to be very present with myself and with what happened. It's not a one and done kind of thing. If it was, you would be over it by now. It would keep revisiting you. So we need to make peace with our upset. We need to let it be here. And like the Course in Miracles says, let all things be exactly as they are. And I'm misappropriating that lesson a little bit, but I love it so much because it happened. It's in the past and it happened. Right? Everything you're thinking about right now, remembering and regretting, it happened. 1. 2, let it be. Let it be. So let it be. I mean, history is a tricky thing. I am here to tell you that 2 people never seem to remember the same event the same way. So that's one thing. But in your case, if you're feeling bad about stuff, let yourself acknowledge exactly what happened. And are you willing to love yourself even though you did things raising your kids and other certain things, you did them. You did it. You made mistakes. You behaved how you behaved. You said what you said. Some people tell me stories where they favor one sibling over the other, and it creates a kind of energy. And then later They feel so regretful about it. You know, whatever it is, whatever you think you did, whatever you did do, let it be here. Let it get some air. Let it get some air. I know we're ashamed. I know we're embarrassed. I know we're sorrowful. I know there is nothing we wouldn't give to have that removed from our history, to have that never have happened. You know, I know, because me too, my friend. But also, let it be here. It happened. Can you love yourself? Can you know you're worthy and deserving of love? So for every time you remember and you regret, you tell yourself, I love you. Yep, you did that. Yep, you said that. Yep. Probably would have been better if you did this other thing. And I am willing to love you. I am willing to love you. I'm willing to love you. You know, I once had a memory creep up. I was in the movie theater watching a movie, and I had a memory creep up like this. I don't know if it was triggered by the movie. I don't even remember the movie anymore, but I had a ring on this, not my wedding band, but a ring I always wear, and it has a heavy band, and I hit myself so hard, like, you know, when you cover your eyes, you cover your mouth, you cover your eyes. I'm doing it now. Like that. I cracked my tooth. I hit myself so hard that I cracked my tooth. Yeah. You know, these things have their own energy to them. And if you can have the courage to witness what happened as you remember it and say, you are a good person. I love you. Yes, that happened, and I love you anyway. You know, you might want to think about some mirror work, looking in the mirror and saying, I am willing to love you, Mandy, or whoever is relating to this, because I know there are tons of us relating to this, right? So it is powerful to think, I believe in living in the here and now. But those old ruts, they come. And the ego loves that old stuff. The ego is not you, and the ego's job is to stay alive. So it loves to churn these attacking, upsetting, regretful stories. So you can't just, you know, plug our ears and go, la, 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 I'm not listening. Can't hear you. You know? Did you ever see Lord of the Rings where Gollum is... No, don't say it, Robin. I'm thinking of a scene in the Lord of the Rings with Gollum trying to plug his own ears while his alter ego is trying to shout over his la, 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 I'm not listening. You know, eventually it just gets louder and louder and louder. So you got to have the brave move of being here. And then you will move on, or you'll fold it into the batter of the richness of who you truly are. Just because you weren't there in certain ways, you feel like you weren't there in certain ways for your kids, or you made these moves, you know, doesn't mean you aren't an amazing mother or an amazing person. You know, I've sat through therapy sessions with people, and I've been in some of my own family sessions. It can become so petty, down to this thing. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. I know. Yes, you did. You know, you have no control over how petty the other people want to be, or specific, harping on the one thing over and over and over. Yeah, and in no way am I trying to say any of this is petty. You know, I hope you know what I mean. just the way people can get stuck on one specific detail, like you didn't pick me up from school this one day, and you could have picked them up 893,000 times. And you can understand the gravity of that experience for your kid or for you as the child. I mean, things have happened to all of us. However, we must develop the capacity to hold all of it, to include those 8,000 other times that it did happen. If we're looking for wholeness, eventually we must give up our fierce stance on the everything that was wrong, the black and white of it all. We must, and start to incorporate, for our own wholeness. Yeah, so I'm not trying to say any of it is petty, like it doesn't matter. I'm saying you may encounter this where the other person is unwilling to budge from their position that you are evil because you didn't pick them up on time, twice or something like that. It can get down to that, and maybe we've all been there. And I'm really sincerely, as I'm saying this, you know what I'm hoping? Right now, somebody out there listening is having an aha about someone they need to forgive because it's hurting you to keep holding this fierce, fierce story. We've all said and done things we wish. Do you know what it's like to lay awake in the night and wish so hard you didn't do the thing you did? Gosh, wouldn't it be lovely if we could forgive? We can't control the timing of other people. We can't control the minds of other people. We've tried, haven't we? We can't control it. You can't control that, but what you can control is the love and the recognition that just because a few things or a bunch of things sort of did not go the way you see they could have gone today, doesn't mean you aren't amazing, and doesn't mean you're any less loved or lovable. Nope, it doesn't change that. It doesn't change it one bit. So I was saying earlier that you're the one that creates the stories that imprison you, and you're the one that has the key to set yourself free. And, some people tell me the story. I'm thinking of one friend right now for a decade has been telling me the story that she's a piece of carp and she's willing to love herself anyway, but the story has not advanced. So you may want to look into why hasn't the story advanced if you've been working on this. I'm not saying this is just for Mandy, but some of us, we just get really in a groove, and like for a decade we tell the exact same story, the exact same wave, I don't know, just go with it, the exact same wave and no movement is made. It's time to make some moves, and you're the only one that knows what the next steps are for you. Maybe your next step is to show up more. Maybe your next step is to actually say the words. If you haven't, I talked about this last week. I suggest going back and listening to episode 134. You are essential. I talk about this with our own kids and how I truly feel I have made my peace. But also, and what the kids choose to do with that is not up to me. So just because we make our peace and somebody else is still upset doesn't mean you didn't do it. So you're going to have to just sit with what your own next steps are. Know that all you can do is take care of your own heart and take care of your own stories. And really, to me, there's nothing really outside of you that you can control. Anyway, so I would do this work internally, and I'm always here to do the work with you. Mirror work. That's really one big, huge thing. Look yourself in your own eyes with so much love. That's what you need. You deserve it. Yeah. So there you go. I hope it helps. And please, if this is interesting to you, I love to hear from more of you. I have a few more letters now. It's been really great. This is a hot topic, apparently, parents and kids. So we will keep going with that next week. Yes. So here we go. It is a beautiful afternoon as I'm finishing this up, and I am watching. I can see Shirley, the robin bird. She is squishing her nest together with a little mud right now, dipping her head in, wiggling her body. It's so amazing. I hope you can find a bird's nest. And there's plenty of online on YouTube if you'd like to watch a robin's nest, just to feel the full effects of what I'm saying here. There are nest cams on YouTube. You can Google robin's nest and find one. So beautiful. I'll try and see if I can put a few photos somewhere. I'm not sure, but we'll see. In the show notes, 135. Well, friends, that wraps another awesome episode in the can, as I like to say. I'm so happy we ride together, you know, and if you have been feeling lonely and alone and the only one in your experience, remember that I'm here and we're walking together. I'm always here to help. Just reach out. It's that simple. Yep. This has been me, Robin Heart Sparkler Hallett, and I'm going to see you here next time, next week, or in a few minutes. Bye-bye. Life is very short, let's make the very most of it. You are a precious gem and I love you. Do, 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 do. We are here to shine and shine bright. You are a gem and I love you. Do, 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 do. Life is precious and you are a spark of the divine. So shine like you know it, rock it like you mean it, 'cause you really, really mean it, and mean it, and mean it, and mean it, and mean it. Don't let crispy people tell you that you aren't sparkly, 'cause you are, 'cause you are, 'cause you are. Thank you. I like that. I love it, honey. Thank you. Give me a kiss. Thanks.